Hi folks, this is All the Fruit and I'm on the farmers market of La Aldea de San Nicolás de Tolentino, probably the most agricultural village in all of Gran Canaria. Well, looks deserted, doesn't it? And the funny thing is I've ever only seen it in this condition. Now I'm staying for the third time in San Nicolás, right? In the house next to the market. Last time I stayed almost 2 months and there was never a market here. Well, apart from the fact that this market is over 1.5 kilometers outside of town, somewhere in the suburbs. But yeah, why is there no market here? By the way, and closer to the town they have another market, an indoors market, which also doesn't work. And if you go to other villages here in Gran Canaria, you will notice that's not an exception. That's the rule. At some time they were ordered to make markets, but they make them in a way so that they don't work. Look around here. All those little farmers or big gardeners here, they are not allowed to sell their stuff at their doorstep. Well, they are theoretically allowed to sell their stuff at the market. However, this market officially takes place once a month, the first Saturday in a month. Well, who would go to a farmer's market once in a month and shop in a supermarket the rest of the time? Basically nobody. People will shop in the supermarket all the time. Yeah, and as I said, the story repeats everywhere. The markets usually have very complicated schedules. I've never managed to see the farmers market of Mogan or Puerto Rico or Guineguin. I managed once to see the market of Maspalomas and once the market of San Fernando near Maspalomas. But the online schedules don't work. The schedules written on the big billboards near the markets, they don't work. You go somewhere and there is no market, despite the fact that officially there should be one. If there is a market, usually it's pretty far outside of town. There is actually a market at Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, a farmer's market, not a commercial market, which is basically a small mall with commercial shops. Well, this little farmer's market at Las Palmas is actually miles and miles outside the city in the hills. It's really small for a city of over 500,000 inhabitants, and there are actually quite few people buying stuff there. On the neighboring island of Tenerife, the situation is a little bit better, but still not perfect. Why? Why are we here in one of the major fruit and veg producing areas of Europe? Spain is the most important fruit and veg producer in winter in Europe, and the Canary Islands are one of the essential areas for winter fruit and veg production, together with Andalusia. So basically, in this town alone, there must be over 100 farms, and also over, well, it's actually more or less a village, and over 1,000 or maybe several thousand people with gardens who really would like to sell their excess tomatoes and oranges and mangoes and bananas and everything. Well, it's almost impossible. Even if they manage to get to a market, they need to have a lot of documentation just to sell a couple pounds of produce. They need to prove that everything was grown on their land. They need to prove that when they planted it, what pesticides they treated it with. They need to have so much documentation for just to make a quick buck on the weekend that it's basically not worth the trouble. So why is this so? I was asking around a lot, and people tell me, well, it's the big supermarkets. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of people living in Gran Canaria. They all need to eat. They all like, well, most of them I guess like fruits and vegetables and other stuff local farmers produce. But they cannot buy directly from anybody. If I sell a couple tomatoes to someone, that's illegal. If I go to the market without proper documentation, I'll get in trouble. The controls are really strict. By the way, the controls of the shops and supermarkets are a lot less strict. Basically, the lobby of commercial shops and supermarkets is spending a lot of money in order to kill those markets. And this here is like the perfect example. Third year here, sometimes several months, and I've never seen the market. In Germany we had a bit of a similar situation in my area. There were two German states, one Baden-Württemberg and one Rheinland-Pfalz. In Rheinland-Pfalz you were always allowed to sell stuff at your doorstep. And actually people from the whole region went to this state and bought stuff at the doorstep of farmers or private people. You have an apple tree, you have a basket of apples, put them in front of your garden door. You'll make some money and you'll make some people happy. A couple years ago they started doing this in Baden-Württemberg too, and even a lot of small gardeners. For example, I harvest 5 cucumbers today, but want to eat only 2. They put them in front of their little garden door and somebody will come and give them a couple euro for the 3 remaining cucumbers. Not so in Gran Canaria. If they catch you, you are in trouble. If they catch you with improper documentation on the market, if you manage to find one, you are in trouble. Even if you find one, probably the customers will not find one. Well, a few people are fighting this situation. For example, here my host in this bar, restaurant, in El Albercon, he is actually selling stuff at his doorstep. He is not an official fruit and veg shop. Theoretically, he's not allowed to do this. But here he is, lots of tasty stuff, a lot of it produced in his own garden, a lot of it from neighbors. I don't even think he's making any money with this, but I think he does it out of principle. Since the market is being boycotted by big business and by the government paid by them, he has his own tiny market in his bar. So folks, thumbs up for my great host who is selling stuff, fruit and veg, at his doorstep in order to replace the basically non-existent farmers market of La Aldea. Stay tuned for a lot of fruit videos from the beautiful island of Gran Canaria. By the way, I have dozens of fruit videos from my host's farm where he has a lot of interesting fruit and veg and other stuff. And of course, if you want to report the channel, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.